There it goes. I got it on camera. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's running. I did it. This is a multiple voltage power adapter that is designed to connect to, you can see it's got multiple ends here to connect to a number of different kinds of household devices that you would find. Because of that, it has a variable voltage switch, which means these are kind of useful for wiring up things that have specific voltage requirements. As you can see here, voltage range 4.8 to 7.2. So I'm going to be using the 6-volt setting. So I'm going to be leaving it set there. I'll be checking that before I plug anything in because I don't want to blow this out. That would be bad. So we're going to try to avoid that. I'm mildly nervous. I don't want to blow this motor out. And if I'm being fully honest, I didn't really do all my homework. In theory, you already know whether or not this panned out, but I don't. Do I have a small knife in here? Cut this insulation off here. Like a charm. Beautiful. If you have a wire stripper, obviously that's going to be much more consistent. I don't have one. I don't do a lot of electronics stuff, so I'm not really prepared. So what I'm doing first is I'm sliding the heat shrink on, just like this. I could be doing this with wire nuts, and probably should be since I'm not certain, but I wanted the opportunity to experiment with my heat shrink, so we're just going to kind of go for it, and if something goes wrong, I will basically just have to redo this entire operation. So that is now safely out of the way, and this is a moment of truth. We're going to plug it in and see if our motor turns. And it does not. All right, change of plans. Essentially, I should be using a different kind of motor because servos are designed to work with things where you would generally have it connected to some sort of board, like an Arduino or something like that. So no plug, setting that aside for now. So I'm just going to take it apart and hope it works out for us. So let's do that, shall we? I'm hoping I'll be able to get inside here and remove the DC motor. I'm going to take this motor that I have, this servo that I have, and remove the motor and use that on its own. Well, would you take a look at that? I believe that's precisely what we need right here. Basically, because I do want to keep this housing, I want to keep the mounting, we're just going to clip off this circuit board, and as a sort of experiment, we're going to see if we can just make it run by connecting it to power. So we've got our voltage limited already. There's a small chance I'm going to burn this out right now. That might happen. Clip it off of the circuit board, because we don't need that. We don't need any of this. Should be basically the same story in here. Now I'm holding on to this wire down here, because I don't want to pull on this soldered connection. That's going to break if I pull on it, and then I'm going to have a problem, because I don't have any soldering equipment. I actually do, but I'm not going to use it right now, because that's not my aim. This is not a soldering video. I don't want to have to solder today. Part of the wire that I want to remain connected, I'm holding on to that with one hand while I remove that, that extra bit of insulation with the other, just to make doubly sure that I'm not causing a problem. All right, so once again, stripping the insulation off of these wires. If you can't tell, once again, I'm nervous. But here's my goal. We want to connect these nice and solidly. So I'm going to take the one that's upright here. We're going to cross them like that. Okay. And we're going to let that wrap around. And we're going to do the same over here. Oh, I forgot something important, didn't I? Did you notice? What did I forget? The heat shrink needs to go on first. Because obviously after the wires are connected, there's a plug on one end and the motor on the other. There's not really any way to get heat shrink on after the wires are already connected. So let's not do that to ourselves. So wrap the wire from the motor around the wire from the plug first. Then I'm going to do the opposite, wrap the copper wire from the plug around the silver wire from the motor, and then I'm going to just double it back on itself to kind of thicken and reinforce this connection. Okay, so what we have here now is a gutted servo with all of the brains taken out of it, and we've turned a servo into a dumb little motor, which is a complete waste of time and energy, by the way. If you're going to do this project, just buy a little DC motor. Don't make the mistake I did. Don't buy a servo and then try to turn it back into a DC motor for no reason. Just buy a motor. All right. Cross your fingers. I'm nervous. Here we go. Please don't set fire. Did you hear that? That worked. Now this is not spinning incredibly fast. We can slow it down by lowering the voltage. We don't want to go any higher than 6. As a safety mechanism, just put some tape down, a couple layers of tape so that it's a little thicker and not as easy to remove. Okay? That way we can switch down low, but we won't go any higher than that, at least not by accident. This is going to work. So here's the very beginning of our ball machine. So let's do this. I'm going to hop into time-lapse mode and see what we can put together here. So here we go. Oh, wait. Before I time-lapse, one more thing. Reversing the polarity should reverse the direction. And indeed it does. Okay. I'll see you on the other side of the time-lapse. In theory, this is the base plate of the ball machine, the motor for the auger, and what I guess I'll call the mounting piece for the auger as well. There's no reason why this shouldn't work, but since it is a test, I figure I might as well do it on camera. All right. I'd like it to be a little more centered. It's not really structural. These crossbars are, well, I guess they are structural, but they're not load-bearing necessarily. I guess they're that too. It's not framework material. This is intended to be really just mounting points for the armature. The armature wire is honestly fairly self-supporting. Heaviest individual component here so far is still just this. But we're going to plug this in and make sure that it runs in place. which it does. So, away we go. It's been a few days. To be honest, I actually stopped recording because I was starting to think it wasn't going to work. Last thing you saw was the time lapse of me starting, I guess, 3, 4, 5 versions ago, what this was supposed to be. And what you're looking at here is a functional auger, coil, spring, twisty metal-based lift mechanism for the marbles to take them from the bottom to the top. And it does that now, at the cost of my sanity. As proof, here we go. Lift marbles. Go. That was not a good start. I discovered something while trying to make this work. Something very upsetting. The marbles aren't all the same size. I don't know what I was expecting from very cheap marbles that I picked up from a craft store without really looking into it at all or being willing to spend more than a few dollars. But I want to be clear about exactly how different in size some of these can be. So let's... Oh, first of all, not all of them are spherical. So I don't know if you can tell. Those aren't the same shape. Look, the point is they're not consistent, which makes it difficult to make something like this, especially with the original designs I had. So the coil would just barely... Here, I'll show you. So imagine this as a little smaller. This the best version of the idea I had. So this is holding our marble, right? And the marble would get lifted by the coil edge as it spins. Right? Just like that. It would just barely reach inside the chamber that was holding the marble enough that it could raise the marble up. And the reason I did that was so that I could have it held firmly at the top and bottom of the coil. Because as you can see with this spinning around right here, there's nowhere for this to connect that would work. Because there's a spinning piece of metal there that will guaranteed 100% get in the way of anything you try to do, other than connecting to this central axis here. I think that would be a possibility, but I'm not really outfitted to do that right now, and I didn't want to risk breaking the whole thing, because despite my demonstration from moments ago, it actually works. It works very well. The main issue here is going to be A, that either the marble I was using was too small, or B, this is more or less sprung into position. I have it basically as a sort of, I don't know if that's a leaf spring, maybe, but basically I have the back track bent in. So if I turn it this way so that you can see it a little clearer. Okay, so let's tackle this one piece at a time. And I'm sorry that I'm having to explain this after the fact. I thought it wasn't going to work. I had pretty much given up. I didn't think it was going to work. So I stopped filming, and, well, it's working, so we're going to keep going. What's happening here is we have, you can see these kind of, I guess, buckled knee pieces right here. So you've got these two little wires that are coming together and twisting, and this is actually all one single piece of wire that's folded in half right there. So you can see it goes in, they twist together, and that makes the entire front section of the lift track, okay? So that's these two pieces right here, and then when they get up to the top, you can see they fold over right there and go back down inside the coil itself. So it's got one wire at each corner making a sort of square, if you look down on it from above. And the marble, obviously, this is a bigger version, but the marble just fits inside there snugly enough that it doesn't go anywhere, right? And it seems to be actually a bit too tight up here because it shouldn't be forcing the wires apart to let the marble through. And the closer it gets to the point up here where it bends over, the more firmly the wires are held together. So I have it springing as we get closer to the bottom so that it's held tightly enough here because there's nothing supporting this bottom section. But by the time it gets up here, it actually needs to have the proper amount of distance between these wires for this to move freely. Otherwise, the machine gets tensed up, this gets pushed too far back, and marbles coming through this way will just fall. So it's not super delicate. It's less delicate than the original design that I had, but it's still pretty delicate. I got to be very careful to get things to go through it the right way. And that's why the different sizes of marbles have been such a pain, because I can't consistently get that balance where it's tight enough at the bottom for the marble to not fall through, but wide enough at the top for the marble to continue without stressing the machine. It's hard enough to do that if I have consistent marbles. But since the marbles aren't even the same size, let alone, I don't know, round, it's been interesting. But the point is, I think it's going to work now. We are going to try and just run some marbles through. You'll notice things get caught at the top, and there's kind of an overflow problem. That's not really something to worry about because this track piece is just for demonstration and testing. So this whole thing's going away, and the main reason that's happening is the start of the track right here. Yeah, the start of the track right here is, it's too high. So the marbles kind of build up at the top. It could be fixed by bending it down lower, but I don't want to put any extra tension on the stuff that's going to stay there just for the benefit of a piece that's temporary. So that's all going away. So what you should see here, if I actually did it right this time, is marbles being lifted and then falling down this little coil here. Whoops. And then falling down this coil and landing inside the basket to cycle back around again. Now, spoiler alert here is I know this works already, but it's, as I've already mentioned, it's a very imprecise balance. So I don't know if these marbles are going to work. I don't know if those small tweaks I just made are going to cause a problem. So we're just going to power it on. Fingers crossed. Yeah, see, so that marble was too small. And you can see they kind of stack up at the top there because that track is too high. But if one gets pushed down, there it goes. So the fact that this backup is happening at the top is not our problem, or not a problem at all. Our main concern is that the marbles are continuing up the elevator the way they're supposed to, which they are. Sometimes it'll take two in a row like that. I don't expect that to be a major problem. With this backup, it's obviously a major problem, but it'll be fine. So, hey! One finally went. The point is, after I get the right track on there, this thing is going to work. So, I'm going to jump into time-lapse mode, and I'm going to start assembling a framework. My plan is to, like I've done here with the base, make sides and a top with a cross at the top like that. I don't know if I'll have across on the walls. I already have this diagonal, so I might just mirror that. I think that would be the easiest thing. And then I guess I'll talk to you on the other side of that structural setup to discuss my plan from there. So we have a framework here. I have a good feeling about this. It's honestly a lot more rigid than I was expecting. So that's very encouraging as far as what I'm going to be able to do and not worry about things getting slightly out of alignment and causing marbles to fall and stuff like that. And because this is made out of armature wire and not like stainless steel wire and steel ball bearings and stuff that would be, you know, really rigid and reliably consistent, things are going to happen. Marbles will fall out of this machine while it's running. I'm 100% certain that's going to be the case. I'm going to be happy if most of the time, like if we're losing a marble every 10 seconds or so, I'm going to call that a win. Trying to tweak it just a bit and also raise that central cross. I think some of my structural pieces may have ended up a bit too long, which I can solve by really just bending them out a little bit. That will make them functionally shorter so that I can bend things into place. But this is what I mean about this not being particularly precise. I just wanted to make sure this still runs and it's not like clicking or doing anything weird. It's a little cattywampus, little strange. We're not going to worry about that. That's going to be fine because the main point is that it's standing square on all 4 feet, which it's not currently, but I'm working on it. First piece of track is going to come away from here, and then I want something right out of the gate to split it into 2 paths. And we'll have a mechanism on there to alternate which path it takes. So away we go. By the way, I lied. I didn't move on. I kept working on the coil off camera because I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. But I did keep working on it. I think I came up with something. So the issue is that I need this to be really tight and not let anything through unless I'm ready for something to go through. And the way I've been thinking about that is to rely on the weight of the marbles that are behind the marble that I want to be lifted. So I wanted to rely on the weight of the marbles in the back, pushing that one in to make sure that it's lifted. So what I'm thinking is if I put a small bend in the track below the point where it actually gets picked up, right about here, then we can have the marble get scooped up on the correct side. The marble will get picked up on the inside of the coil so that it'll be leaning back toward this rear track as it gets lifted up. And I think that'll be enough to get the process started. That's my theory. Let's see how it goes. So I'm thinking right about there, it should be pushing itself back. Let's see what that does. It's doing what I wanted, but the timing is all wrong. And I assume if I add more marbles on here, this addition is going to make it more likely to drop. Yeah. So we have a point where the marbles are expanding the wire. So things are getting a little too close in the middle. It looks like it's not dropping marbles as much now. Oh, and of course, as I say it, There's where things are likely to fall out. Things fall that way, and things fall this way. So if we can put something there just to prevent that incident, something like the mesh, for example. I think if I add this support mesh on here, it will be less likely to drop marbles. I just need to get it into the right spot so that it doesn't let anything through, and then we can kind of pin it into place with the craft wire. Okay, so now that it's fed through, I just need to twist it up so that it's tight and actually doing its job. Not only is the wire, the craft wire that I'm using to pin, not only is that sharp, but so is the mesh. So it's dangerous in two fun ways. That'll keep it in place. And the nice thing about the wire is I don't have to make it super taut because I can just kind of bend it in tightly when I'm done, and it should hold things pretty rigidly in place. And first we're going to turn it on with no marbles in there to make sure this isn't catching in any weird way. Like that. Needs to be further out here because it's catching right out of the gate. That seems better. Seems like we could pin it again so that it's a little more tightly locked down. But I think let's turn it off. Trying to get this one wired as well. Want it connected on both sides for obvious reasons. It's going to be much more stable if it's got more points of contact. So I hope that's going to hold some marbles in place. Ideally, it's not going to matter what size marble I put in there. That would be a best case scenario, because then we can just kind of go nuts. So it almost carried one up the side there. All right. Now moving on for real. I'm going to call that good. Ever necessary to make little tweaks. But this time I'm going to tell you I'm going to leave those little tweaks until the end. And this time I mean it. So we're going to get started on the remainder. Okay, I lied again. Here's the thing. It was completely worth it. Because I figured out that this bottom part of the coil down here needs to be a flat ring so that the marbles fall reliably and stay reliably in the exact same spot so that I can hold them there to be scooped up by the coil. With this, if the coil continued to fall down as it came around rather than coming to meet itself right here, then it leaves an opening on this side where marbles can fall out, and that's how I kept losing passengers. So it's been running solidly for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. I'm going to plug it in right now, and I think it's probably going to break because I turned the camera on. I lied to you twice in a row, but... Come on. Like, that's working, man. That is working. I don't know how to give you a good angle. I'm going to try and hold it steady. I don't know what kind of an angle that is. I'm doing my best here. But that's the thing, is I can move it and it's not even losing any marbles. They just keep rising and continuing through. We got it. This time for realsies. It's working though. Remember, the last 2 times, okay, I said there were things I needed to fix that I would work on later. This time, it just works. So I couldn't possibly be lying to you. So I'm sure that the next shot after this one will be a time lapse of me continuing the track. It's going to happen this time. First thing I'm working on is a something to split it, because I want 2 different possible directions at the very beginning. So, you know, moving into something equally, you know, complicated. You know, sometimes, hate to say it, sometimes you just got to accept defeat. It's very late. don't think it's happening. This is twice now. I've been defeated by ball machines 2 times. It will not happen a 3rd time. I'm not giving up. Marble machines aren't getting me a 2nd time. I'm not losing. I'm not losing to this thing. So here's the problem, just so you understand why I'm slowly losing my mind here. These are generally designed to be made out of stainless steel wire and ball bearings, which are very stiff and reliable and consistent and smooth. And did I say reliable and consistent? Each part works individually, right? Like if I put a marble on the coil, it goes around the coil. But it doesn't meet up with that. It used to, now it doesn't. If I put something on here, it makes it over. And sometimes they fall back. And that's actually supposed to happen, which is going to get me into what's going to go next. I noticed that if this is in just the right spot, some of the marbles go over and continue off to the right, and some of them fall back through this lip. So we're going to put another track here that's going to like come from here, around, up, and carry into the basket, hopefully using the momentum to get it over that hip. This basket in the back is taller than the final landing place, so it should work. But what's not working is this situation right here, because this coil basically needs to be compressed. I need to like squish it down so that the bottom of that coil is also higher than this basket. And so there are 2 ways I'm going to make sure that that's the case. One is I'm going to take the corner, this back corner of the basket, and I've lowered it as much as I possibly can. And I think I'm even going to cut out that back corner so that the marbles coming from that track basically go just directly in. One thing that's also happening is my fingers are getting sore and tired. In order to handle that repeating process of placing and tweaking and placing and tweaking and placing and tweaking and placing and tweaking and placing and tweaking, I'm going to put in all of the remaining parts, which there's actually only one more section of track going on. I know it's not insanely complicated, but I'm going to be happy with a cycling marble machine. That's my main goal. I want something that's working and cycling. I just don't have the resources. I would need track switches, because what I've noticed is this is just barely steep enough to get the marble going down. Okay. So you saw how gentle some of these slopes are, right? How fine this is, even in this amount of space. And some individual pieces can work at once and some can't. It needs to be perfectly balanced for everything to work. It almost works. It almost works. But the reason it doesn't and the reason it won't is because of a fundamental mistake I made in my assumptions at the beginning of the project. And I can only torture myself to try and make it work anyway to a certain extent before it just becomes a waste of my time and a waste of your time. The added benefit of making this out of stainless steel wire would be that I could weld or solder the wire together so that I could have, for example, bridge pieces underneath the track to guarantee a consistent width. I mean, there's a reason these things are made pretty much exclusively out of what they're always made out of. This is one that I will not be able to wing, and that's part of why this didn't work. But that's also, you know, what comes with the territory with prototyping things like this. Okay. After I turned the camera off, I gave it another try. I just kind of relaxed, did the tweaks I needed to do, went very zen, had some tea, thought about Uncle Iroh. I have touched absolutely nothing since this was functioning. Yes, it drops some marbles. It is not perfect. It is far from perfect. But the marbles that are currently in there run through the system. I am going to try to add some marbles while the camera is rolling. Camera's rolling. Camera's rolling. Not on the right screen, though. Correct camera, we can see the machine. Okay, all I'm gonna do is plug it in, and we're gonna hope some marbles make it through. Shut up, phone. Now is not the time for that. All right, I'm gonna touch absolutely nothing. There are a couple more things I could do, but as we know, that could completely destroy what I've accomplished, so I'm going to record it running. Hopefully. There it goes. I got it on camera. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's running. I did it. Oh, I don't even care, man. Like, yeah, it's dropping some. It's dropping some. But look at it go, man. Look at it go. It definitely occasionally goes. Look there goes another one. It's gonna go around the thingy into the stuff. Oh. So you can see there are some flaws. Marbles get stuck in places. Let's get some new angles on this. All of my madness was for something. What? I don't really know. I don't know. I want a good down angle on this. Things are starting to tweak. I can hear things getting weird. Okay, we only put the roundest of the round into the system. That's all I'm willing to accept. And yes, I do need to continue feeding it with marbles, because it does slowly eat them up, like some sort of monster. But at least... Oh, yeah, see, so there's my main problem right now, is that's where things get stuck. Right in there. Dude! Yes! I don't even care that it's not perfect. I thought it wasn't going to happen at all. And then there it is. There it is. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. Yay. So I have surrounded this thing with paper and a little backdrop so that it's as easy as possible to see this on the GoPro. I'm not going to be able to get any of the fancy shots or anything like what I did with the box fort, because this thing is so precarious. I'm not even sure I'm not sure that putting the paper here wasn't too much. It might have been. It's on camera? On camera. Extra marbles in hand. Alrighty. Looks good. Please still work. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. That's all right. We just want to see some success. And that is our first success right there. Look at that. Look at that. That is beautiful. I'm going to add marbles. Whoever gets rejected just wasn't welcome anyway. We're not going to worry about that. I've got extra marbles to keep it going. No. Stay together. Not like this, ball machine. Not like this. It's such a delicate balance. Go. Yes! I don't even care. I don't even care. Honestly, I'm happy with these results. I don't know why it's getting stuck. Something has gotten slightly tweaked over here. Might be as simple as that. Might be as simple as that. Ooh, that sounds better. Oh. Look, the point is it's very fragile. It's very fragile. But this is working. I win. Please ignore the small details like marbles falling. The point is, I made an absolutely flawless, unbreakable, perfect ball machine. At some point, I said that losing one ball every 10 seconds would be a victory. What if we have one successful ball about every 10 seconds? Is that a victory? I don't think that's even an accurate description of what's happening, though. I'm chalking this up as a win. We got it. I can move on with my life. And I can do better next time when I make this out of stainless steel. You mark my words, I will make this thing out of stainless steel. It will be multiple feet tall. It will probably be expensive, so it's also going to be a long time from now, but it will happen. And I'll do better next time. But for now, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Marbles went through the machine. We got him. We got him. So that's going to be it. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, you should go ahead and do that. And you get extra stuff on the UECraft Minecraft server, too. And, also, all them beautiful, beautiful cool points. So, like and subscribe and whatever other forms of acceptance you deem appropriate. Or, thumbs down. Tell me you didn't like it. Tell me what you want to make next. Or what you want me to make next. I mean, look, if you want me to make something, tell me in the comments. That's what they're for. If you hated this, tell me in the comments. That's what they're for. I need a nap. It's been a blast as always. I'll see you later. Ta-ta now.